starting. Uh, my name is Harold French, and I'm Senator from District 7. Today, we will be holding a meeting of the Senate Commerce Committee. Before we get started, I'll read through a checklist to ensure that the meeting that we are holding is in compliance with the Right to Know law. As chair of the Commerce Committee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04 and its extension, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We're utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selected legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in the meeting through this platform, and the public has access to contemporaneously watch and or listen to the meeting on Zoom or YouTube, and via phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website. We have provided public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting in the Senate calendar. We are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are any problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remote@ledge.state.newhampshire.us, or an easier way is to call 603-271-6931. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Finally, let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether they are and if anyone else is in the room with you during the meeting, which is required under the Right to Know law. We'll start off with Senator Gannon.
I am Senator Bill Gannon. I'm in the beautiful town of Sandown, New Hampshire, and my wife is working in the house, and two of my kids are doing Timberlane remote Zoom. So hopefully they don't walk through too often.
Senator Bradley.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Jeb Bradley. I am in my home office in Wolfboro, excuse me, alone.
Senator Kavanaugh.
Hello, Senator Kevin Kavanaugh at my home in Manchester. I'm in the room alone, but my family is in and around the house.
Senator Susie.
Senator Donna Susie, I am at my home in Manchester and I am alone.
And once again, I am Harold French, Senator District 7. I am here in Canterbury, New Hampshire. Welcome. So we'll be taking up 3 bills today. Senate Bill 14, 17, and 18. We'll start with Senate Bill 14.
Okay.
Senator French, I just got a text. Did they let the public in yet? Is the public in? Do we know?
The public is in. There are 44 members of the public on the call.
All right. Thank
I'm
you.
not going to repeat what I just said.
All right, Senator French. So we're going to begin with that first bill. The prime sponsor is Senator D'Alessandro. Senator D, you should be able to unmute yourself and present.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman and distinguished members of the committee, it's great. It's a great American experience doing this, and I am testing it out, and I hope it works out well for everybody. Nice to see all of your charming faces and to engage in this effort to do good things for government. For the record, I'm Senator Lou D'Alessandro. I represent District 20 Manchester wards 3, 4, 10, 11 of the town of Goffstown. I'm alone at my home in Manchester and coming to you via this video link. I'm the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 14 relative to the direct shipment of liquor. This bill came before the Senate last year and was passed and moved forward. And obviously it got caught in the mix at the end and did not pass. This bill is as was requested by the Liquor Commission, and as all of you know, one of the key elements in our revenue is the sale of liquor and the profits produced by liquor. In order to remain competitive in this environment, the Liquor Commission needs this alternative. They need the ability to direct ship, and that gives them another feather in their quiver of arrows in terms of promoting the sale of spirits and wine in the state of New Hampshire. I don't have to tell each and every one of you how significant the work done by the Liquor Commission has been in the history of our state, and kudos to the current commissioner who's done just an outstanding job in very, very difficult times. He's built new stores. He's got these new stores online. He's developed better point of sale activities. I think our point of sale is really the highest in the country as far as controlled states are concerned. So indeed, if we're going to ask the commission to produce the revenue, we need to give them the tools in order to do that. And this is one of the tools that they need. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might bring forward. I thank you so much for allowing me to be here before you. I know how difficult this has been for everybody, but I appreciate all the work done by our staff and by the committee members and by all of the senators to try to make a good thing happen in these most difficult times. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'd engage in any query that you might have. And again, thanks for taking the time to listen to my testimony on this piece of legislation.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate you showing up today. Any questions from any of the senators?
Quick question though.
Yes,
Senator DeSalesandro, how you doing?
yes, Bill. Nice to see you.
So right now, I just always would have assumed that there was direct shipment. Do restaurants go and pick up the liquor directly at the liquor stores?
The restaurants do that, but I think the restaurants can be shipped also. But this would allow for direct shipment to an individual. They would call in and ask for a particular product, and you could use FedEx or United Parcel or to deliver. So this adds another ingredient to that situation.
Okay, thank you, Senator.
My pleasure, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good luck in this experiment. I'm sure, Frenchie, you will do a magnificent job. There's a glow surrounding you that
Thank you, sir.
We can see that from afar. You're a guiding light.
I can feel it.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, I've disabled Senator D. Senator D'Alessandro. The next person I have signed up to speak is Chairman Malika, who should be able to unmute himself now.
Very good. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Good
afternoon.
morning. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, for the record, I'm Joseph Malika. I'm the chairman of the New Hampshire Liquor Commission. I'd like to thank Senator D'Alessandro and Senate President Morse for bringing this legislation forward again. Obviously, this is important legislation for us and our business moving into the future. We have launched a new website at the Liquor Commission, which is liquorandwineoutlets.com. It's a full visual website. And we've launched a curbside and in-store pickup in 10 of our stores, and we'll be adding some more this month. The main goal for this venture is to add additional revenue to the state coffers. There is a number of outlets out there that sell into our state. And we are one of the, there's 6 states in the country that allow spirits to be direct shipped. I'll just run through them quickly. Hawaii, Kentucky, Nebraska, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, and the District of Columbia. And there's 8 states that allow beer and wine: Virginia, Vermont, Delaware, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, Ohio, and Oregon. And there's 2 states that allow wine, beer, and mead: Connecticut and New Jersey. So what we'd like to do is obviously offer our great values at our liquor and wine outlets to consumers around the country and to here in the state. Our ability to deliver will launch at the end of September, middle to the end of September. And this is using the Liquor Commission's vast product, about 17,000 SKUs at this point, to allow consumers around the country, as this expands, to order here from us and we can ship to them. Obviously, we're going to start in state first and then be licensed to move to out of state. We know that we need many venues to do this, forward-facing venues. Many people around the country know liquor and wine outlets, our liquor and wine outlets, but what we'd like to open is different wine clubs, different whiskey clubs, and we like to become a fulfillment center for those other folks that do that already. So there's, for instance, the New York Times Wine Club or the Wall Street Journal Wine Club. They don't own any wine. They're just they're a forward-facing entity, and someone is a fulfillment center for them. So if somebody would like to become a fulfillment center, for us to become a fulfillment center for them, that's something that we could do as well. Obviously, the main goal of this is to remain competitive in a very ever-changing marketplace. And this is the way of the retail future. And we'd like to certainly be involved in it. And with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One question on the taxing of alcohol sent across state lines. Do we pay the other states or?
Yes, we would. And these entities that we would have to create, these LLCs or businesses that we would have to create, would be entities that would be able to collect those taxes and pay taxes in those states.
Okay, great. Thank you. Senator
Thank you,
Kavanaugh?
Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Malika. I just had a question. People in quarantine right now for grocery shopping, you have Instacart. Would this be something that would be a part of that too? If you put an order in, someone picked it up and brought it? Was that?
Well, our licensees in the state, for instance, a Market Basket, or they can use this. They can direct ship through their Peapod or whatever system they have now. But obviously, no one's delivering spirits in the states. They're just beer and wine wholesale retailers. So this would allow people to order their spirits and have them directly shipped to them at their home, as well as the plethora of wines that we carry in our outlets. And it would open a lot of the products that we carry in our warehouse that aren't directly in our stores at this time due to some space limitations. As we move forward, the goal in achieving these larger footprints is to get all those products into the stores. And that's been our goal for the last 10 years.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Anyone else? Yep.
Thank you. I noticed this bill doesn't have a fiscal note, but have you thought along the lines of how it might increase revenue? Or is that premature?
Well, thank you for the question, Senator. We certainly have thought of it, not knowing how many states we would get licensed in immediately, but we're looking at, my goal is to 1 to 3% of total sales. I think that a lot of retailers have seen additional sales as high as 30 and 40% through direct ship. especially during the times that that we're in. Our revenue right now versus plan is up 4.3% or 3.1 million since July through December 31st. So we're seeing a growth in our stores, and we're seeing that a number of these individuals, consumers have chosen to do either the curbside or the in-store pickup. So this will just be a nice addition to what we've already started.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Anyone else? Thank you, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We appreciate your time. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, the next person on my list is Kevin Kurland. Before I bring him in, though, the person after him on my list is Kevin Amaker, and I do not see Kevin Amaker on the list of attendees. Kevin, if you're here under a different name, could you just raise your hand there? I think you just did. Okay, here is Kevin Kurland. Kevin, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Yep, I do. Thank you very much for having me. My name's Kevin Kurland. I'm a citizen of Seabrook, New Hampshire, and I'm the owner of Smoky Quartz Distillery in Seabrook, New Hampshire. I've been open now about 8 years on the coast. And I just want, in support of this bill, one of the problems I have as a distillery, first off, New Hampshire Liquor Commission is a great partner for me as a distillery. They're my #1 customer. The liquor stores are a great venue to have my product in. However, I do get calls. After 8 years in business, I have calls from all over the country. People would like for me to ship to them. And currently, the only way I would be able to do that, not because of New Hampshire laws, but because each individual state's like a different country. You have to negotiate and get brokers, and it's a real headache. If I got brokers outside the state, they would basically take most of my profit, and it would be outside the state. I would much rather continue to partner with the New Hampshire Liquor Commission and let them handle the heavy lifting of giving it, of selling it outside of state. Initially, it's going to be in state, but as it moves out to other states, that's going to make my life much simpler and make my customers much happier and fill the coffers of New Hampshire with more in-state revenue. And I just want to come out. I strongly support this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Kurland.
Thank you very
Anyone
much.
have any questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, and here is Kevin Amaker. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead.
So I'm Kevin Amaker. The reason my middle name's actually Blake, so it asked for my first name. So I'm Blake Amaker. I own Copper Cannon Distillery. So I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into my distillery in West Chesterfield, New Hampshire. We have 2 employees. I think this bill is a great bill for us. I'm actually a transplant from Louisiana. So I went to college at Louisiana State University and then moved up to first into Massachusetts and now into New Hampshire. And I've been here for over 15 years. And I think I have tons of relatives from Texas, Georgia, Louisiana, always requesting shipment of alcohol. And I'm pretty much hamstring on the fact that the same issues that Kevin spoke about earlier. I think this is a great bill for us. I'm really supportive of it. And I think that would infuse a lot of revenue for us to continue to grow our small business, New Hampshire Strong, and really help the New Hampshire Liquor Commission too to, get up to times with where they need to be. I wanted to give a shout out to New Hampshire Liquor Commission for all their support with helping us to grow with, we're in 16 stores right now and we're starting to wrap some marketing around that. But I think it's a great opportunity for all of us to grow, both from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission, state stores in New Hampshire, and also small local businesses.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony today.
Okay. Senator, that is everyone I had who signed up to speak.
You want to inquire if there's anyone else on that wishes to speak that didn't sign up?
If there's anyone on the call who would like to speak who didn't sign up, please raise your hand in Zoom by using the raise hand feature, or if you're on the phone, please press *9 and that'll raise your hand as well.
Seeing none, then I close this hearing on Senate Bill 14. Thank you very much. What I'm trying to do, or thinking about doing is, when we're done today, execing as many of these 3 bills as we can, but holding off until the very end to go into executive meetings. Are we ready for SB 17? Then I'll open the meeting of Senate Bill 17.
Okay.
Call the first speaker, please.
The prime sponsor of Senate Bill 17, Senator Bertzel, who is here. Senator Bertzel, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Hello,
We can hear you.
can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, I can't hear you guys.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now. Sorry.
Great.
Good afternoon for this great experiment of ours. For the record, my name is Regina Bertzel. I'm state senator for District 19, which encompasses the towns of Derry, Hampstead, and Windham. And I want to thank the Chair of Commerce and the committee for taking my bill. Senate Bill 17 is one of the bills that passed the Senate last year, but didn't make it through any of the omnibus bills, which is understandable. And it basically allows a municipality to adopt an ordinance that would allow a person holding a brew pub license to allow dogs on patios only, not inside the facility where the food is being prepped. This piece of legislation came to me through a few of the breweries that are in my district that asked, they had allowed dogs into the on the patios, but Health and Human Services, I think, had come in and said, no, it's not in the RSA. So they asked me to put it in the RSA, and that is what I'm doing with Senate Bill 17. And with that, I'll take any questions. And also, my understanding is, I think Senator Sherman is on the list, and he has a friendly amendment that wants to be attached to this. So,
Senator, thank you for coming today. Can you tell me, are these dogs allowed to drink when they're there?
they're not supposed to drink wine because that's grapes. So I would assume that they may be able to, but I wouldn't. I wouldn't
Okay.
feed my dog beer.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Senator Gannon?
Thank you. Hi, Senator Bertzel. I like your bill. My only concern right now, and you might have an answer, or Senator Sherman might, transmission of COVID from dog to dog or dog to person. Is that a concern of yours right now?
Not at this point. Number one, we don't have any of the patios open
Okay.
predominantly. Most of the patios are going to be open more in the spring and the summer. And with the vaccinations coming through, I think it'll make it a lot less. But Senator Sherman probably has a little bit better clue on that one.
Okay. Thank you, Senator.
Yep.
Any others? Thank you, Senator, for coming today.
Yep.
Cameron?
All right. Next, we're going to go to Senator Sherman. Senator Sherman, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to, unfortunately, the amendment, they've had problems with their typewriter in OLS. So they have not been able to get that. So what I can share with you, and Jenny has sent this along. Oh, by the way, for the record, my name is Senator Tom Sherman, District 24, 11 Seacoast towns, one of which is Hampton, which is where this issue came up. And I'll be brief, or as brief as I can on explaining this. Essentially, this amendment will affect nanobreweries, brew pubs, and contract brewers. Nanobreweries and brew pubs are allowed to expand their capacity, not beyond their per barrel per year or their barrel per year limit, but they are able to expand their capacity to, I believe it's 2,000 or 2,500 barrels per year using what's called tenant brewing and also by expanding their own facility. These are small operations, and the idea of, in the case of the brewer that brought the brew pub that brought this to my attention, which is Wim Brewery in Hampton, it would cost them about $500,000 of investment to increase their increase their output from 1 barrel to 7 barrels. Bob is with us today, so he can talk more about that capacity. But as you can imagine, for a small operation, that's a huge investment. Whereas if they could work with a contract brewer, they can increase to up to 20 barrels, I believe it's monthly, at a much lower risk paying by contract. So this only came up last week. Senator Bertzel's bill dealing with brew pubs was a good place to attach the amendment. And I'll just walk you through what this does. And hopefully you would agree with this. I have worked with the Liquor Commission to make sure they are okay with it. I've also worked with I've talked with Representative Hunt and also with the beer distributors. And the understanding is that this may well have been an oversight in the past, not allowing this capacity. But bottom line is it's a win-win-win-win for the state of New Hampshire, 4 wins. So here's what happens. You are a brew pub, you're putting out 1 barrel, you have a much larger demand, you're running out, you want to increase capacity. You want to do that in a smart business way of not upfront putting up $500,000, which is a lot of money for a small operation. So you go to a contract brewer who has openings in their schedule for additional brewing. You do a contract that includes your recipe for your brew. And in that contract brewing, they will then produce additional brew for you in that contract with your recipe, filling in the gaps in their production. That's a win for the contract brewer. It's a win for the state because it's increased tax revenue. It's a win for the brew pub and the nano brew because they can expand using their own recipe without that upfront money. And the amendment it's basically the same language for nano brews and brew pubs. It does not exceed the current statutory limit total for their production. They also, this is part of the discussion with the Liquor Commission, they also have to continue at least the same level of local brewing as they were doing previously before they went into this contract agreement. Otherwise, they could just have the contract do everything, but then they would have to change their license to a restaurant, and then it would be a private label. The third component is the contract brewer has to be a New Hampshire contract brewer. The fourth component is that the state tax that's due from the increase has to be paid by the nano brew or the brew pub. It's not up to the contract brewer, and it's not up to the Liquor Commission to go after the contract brewer. It's paid by the nano brewer or the brew pub. And then finally, what was the fifth one? There's one more. Oh, they can't exceed that annual output, which would then put them over the limit for that category. So again, I think it's really smart from a small business standpoint to allow them to do this. It may well have been an oversight that they weren't allowed to do it previously. It does not change their category at all, but it does help the contract brewers. Oh, and I'm sorry, one other is that a copy of the contract has to go be filed with the Liquor Commission so that they are fully apprised of this agreement. So those are all of the caveats. We do have the language, but you don't have it quite yet. You have two parts of it. You have the original amendment, which didn't have all 5 components. So we reworked that, and that's when the typewriter failed. I think it's a Selectric. But that's when the typewriter failed and they were not able to get you the final version of the committee amendment. But that's it in a nutshell. Happy to take any questions.
Senator, when they contract with the brewer, can they contract with multiple brewers at one time or a singular one?
It doesn't specify, but they would have to follow, if they did contract with multiple brewers, they would have to follow the same guidelines and they would have to be in-state brewers.
And how many barrels a year can a contract brewer produce for them?
Well, their total, that would depend on how much they're brewing locally. So they, right now, and Bob can fill you in on what WIM is doing right now, but they say they're brewing X number of barrels per year. They have to do at least that same number locally. They can do more, but they can't do less. And then when they go with the contract brewer, the sum total of that X amount that they're producing plus the contract still has to stay under current statutory limit for that category.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Go ahead.
Senator Sherman, could you just speak to the underlying bill? I appreciate your detailed explanation of the amendment,
Right.
but I wondered if you could just speak to the underlying bill.
The underlying bill I'm in support of. We have several brew pubs, and part of the outdoor experience is to be able to have your companion with you, your canine, your dog. To answer Senator Gannon's question, the risk of either animal to animal or animal to human transmission is exceedingly low, if not. There have been anecdotal reports of that, but it's especially in the outdoor setting. Presumably there is some distance, but the animal to animal would be that would not be something I would foresee as a physician. We see people out walking their dogs all the time, and on our beaches they are off leash, interacting with other dogs. It's just not a concern. So I don't see this as being a concern for this, for the underlying bill. So I support the underlying bill. I think it makes these venues more attractive and increases their, whatever the word is, it increases the number of people showing up to use them. It makes them a more friendly place. And, as everywhere in the state, your dog has to be under the control of the owner, and the owner has the liability for that dog.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you, Senator.
Yes, and I would just like to introduce Bob when you call on him with WIM. I'm going to have to jump off in 15 minutes because I have to start seeing patients. But I did want to make sure that you all had a chance to hear from Bob, who is the one who originally brought this to my attention.
Thank you. Cameron?
Senator French, the next person on my list is Colleen Smith from Health and Human Services. Would you rather I go to Bob Levine or?
Sure, while we have the senator on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bob, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Good afternoon, senators. I'm assuming you can all hear me.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you. As Senator Sherman said, I am one of the owners and the business manager for the WIM Brew Pub in Hampton, New Hampshire. We're a small brewery. We have a 1 barrel capacity, which means we brew at approximately 1 barrel a week, 50 barrels a year. Even with that limitation, our beers have been well received by our customer base, and we were seeking to expand. Unfortunately, in today's climate, financing is not readily available on the scale that Senator Sherman mentioned. For us to expand, according to our plans, to a 7-barrel brewery, it would cost us between $300,000 and $500,000. It's a commercial industrial use, and it is very capital intensive. However, it's been a longstanding practice among brew production for smaller breweries to contract brew with larger breweries. Here in New Hampshire, Great North Ale Works has a significant portion of their business as a contract brewer. Seeing an opportunity, we contacted Great North Ale Works to contract brew a 20-barrel batch, which would significantly increase our production. The cost of that, depending on the style of beer that's brewed, is between $8,000 and $10,000. So it's well within our risk in order to do that, given how well received our beers are. Following the procedures under RSA 178, we filed our contract with the Liquor Commission, only to find out that because nano brewers and brew pubs weren't included in the 2018 amendment that allowed contract brewing, it's only limited to beverage manufacturers, which are large breweries anyway. So we brought this, which we felt was an omission or oversight, to the attention of Senator Sherman, and he in turn agreed with what we were saying, because it would be an increase in revenue not only for us and not only for Great North Ale Works, but it will generate excise tax and room and meals tax by giving us more beer to sell. So he was kind enough to draft the amendment and submit it as an amendment to Senator Birdsall's bill, Senate Bill 17. I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have in this regard.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for testifying today.
Thank you.
Cameron?
Okay, the next on my list is Colleen Smith from the Department of Health and Human Services. Colleen, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Great. Yes, thank you. Thank you, members of the committee and Chairman. For the record, my name is Colleen Smith. I'm the administrator for the food production section, which is in the Department of Health and Human Services. I have submitted talking points to the committee in advance of the hearing that has some further details, but I just wanted to highlight that as brew pubs do hold a food service license, this currently is not allowed per our administrative rules. The only dogs that are allowed are service dogs currently, and that is due that there is an increased risk from either food or food contact surfaces to be contaminated with the presence of additional dogs. Dogs shed hair, and also there are issues due to fecal or liquid waste that dogs produce that would should the establishment be allowed to have dogs, they should have a plan in going forward how to deal with issues concerning that, because it does lend itself to increase contamination of either the food contact surfaces or other areas within the restaurant. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that the committee may have.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming, Ms. Smith.
Okay, the last person I have signed up to speak on this bill is Henry Veilleur. He should be able to unmute himself now.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. For the record, my name is Henry Veilleur, and I'm here on behalf of the New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association. Here to speak in favor of the bill, but to ask the committee to consider broadening it beyond brew pubs. There was House Bill 1483 that passed the House last session, and it would allow dogs in restaurants and outdoor dining areas, basically modeled the same way as this one is. You know, the entrance to the dining area has to be from the outside. So and it actually, House Bill 1483 amends the same statute, RSA 46644. So if you take a look at House Bill 1483, again, it passed the House last year, and then with COVID, the Senate never took it up. But I know that the House has an interest in doing something similar, and we would support enabling restaurants. Not all restaurants would want to do this, but again, this would be enabling. And for those restaurants that do have, you know, the proper areas and protocols in place, it would be good to give them an opportunity to do it also. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay, Senator French, that was everyone I had signed up to speak, although we do have a couple of hands raised. One is Bob Levine, who'd like to speak again, and one is Scott Shire, who has not spoken yet.
Take Scott, please.
Scott, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Great. Thank you very much. Just two clarifying questions, and maybe Bob can answer the question. This is relative to the amendment from Senator Sherman. First of all, I'm Scott Shire, and I work for the New Hampshire Beer Distributors Association. Just a question about license types for the contract brewing. Would this be, I know that the intention is for brew pubs initially, and then I think nanos were added to this to be able to utilize a contract brewer. But in terms of the license type for the contract brewer, would that still be a beverage manufacturer? That's my first question. And my second question is, at which license level would pay the taxes to the state? Would that be at the contract level or the original licensed, either the brew pub or secondarily the nano? And I'll go ahead and mute and let that question be discussed offline.
Thank you.
Okay. Senator Sherman has raised his hand. Would you rather I go to him or Bob Levine?
Go to the senator.
Senator Sherman?
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to address Scott's questions. This should not change any licensee levels, whether it's beverage manufacturer or brew pub or nano brewery. That certainly is not a part of any of the language. So the second one, in terms of the sales tax at the request of the Liquor Commission would be paid by the nano brewery or the brew pub, because they did not want to have to go to the beverage manufacturer for that additional revenue. But we did not get into what level of tax that would represent. So I would defer to the chairman of the Liquor Commission. I don't know if he's still on, but that would be something that we could certainly address. But his preference was that any production in the name of the nano brewer or brew pub, whether it's local or contract, would be paid by the nano or brew pub.
Thank you. I see Aidan Moore from the New Hampshire Liquor Commission has something to say. Could you call on him, Cameron?
Yes. Aidan, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Thank you, Senator French, committee members. I'm Aidan Moore, the legal coordinator for the State Liquor Commission. And I'm really coming on just to see if there were any questions from any of the committee members about any of the existing laws that I could try to answer for you.
Thank you. Anyone? Senator Bradley.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I just want to be clear that the Liquor Commission supports Senator Sherman's amendment.
Senator, I don't believe we've taken a position in support or opposition to it. I've worked with Senator Sherman last week to talk through some of the issues that he's presented to you today as part of the legislation. But the commission has not taken a position on this bill, or the amendment, I should say. Actually, the bill and the amendment.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator.
Okay, Senator French, we have Bob Levine who has his hands raised.
Sure, go ahead.
Bob, you should be able to unmute now.
Thank you. I wanted to speak to the underlying bill as to dogs on the patios at brew pubs and so on. We get numerous requests from customers asking us if we permitted that, and without this legislation, we can't. And these people are disappointed. As to the point of, as far as dog waste and fecal matter, we definitely have protocols to treat any sort of organic hazardous materials, and have an established protocol to basically get that, get customers away from it and get that area cleaned up. So that is something through ServSafe, which is a statewide program that restaurants and such as us brew pubs train for our staffs and our managers to do, just to let the committee know that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we also had Catherine Fry from New Futures, chose not to speak, was neutral. Senator Kavanaugh, representing himself, great beer lover, supports this. And Senator Carson, also representing herself, signed in support. Anyone else wishing to speak? Then I close this hearing on Senate Bill 17. At this time, we'll take up Senate Bill 18. Senator Birdsall.
Okay, Senator Birdsall. Senator, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Thank you. Thanks, Cameron. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Again, for the record, my name is Regina Birdsall, State Senator for District 19, encompassing the towns of Derry, Hampstead, and Windham. And I am the prime sponsor of Senate Bill 18. This bill allows liquor manufacturers to offer samples at farmers markets. This was brought to my attention in one of our local distilleries, Dware Distilleries, Andy Day, and last year. And again, I believe it passed the Commerce Committee last year, but again, rightfully so, did not make it into the omnibus bills. But what this does is put distilleries on an even playing field with breweries and beverage manufacturers and wineries, and allowing samples at farmers markets, basically a half an ounce sample per label. The one thing I did have is an amendment. It was brought to my attention this morning from Commissioner Malika, and he had wanted to try and kind of hone it in to allow pretty much just incubator distilleries that are manufactured right here in New Hampshire. And I thought that was a really good idea. So I can speak to the amendment, but at least Senate Bill 18 is allowing distilleries to have samples, tasting samples at farmers markets. And I'd like to present Amendment 2021-0010S, if it's appropriate.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is an amendment to Senate Bill 18. And basically it says, Again, it's written by the liquor commissioner. So a liquor manufacturer that produces less than 5,000 bottles during their licensing year and that operates and produces liquor solely within the state. So it hones in on just small incubator distilleries. And I thought that was a really good, good catch. So I firmly would like to see this amendment attached.
Great,
And I'm
thank you.
willing to take any questions.
Any questions, anyone? Senator Bradley?
Yeah, thank you very much. Would it be possible to put the amendment up on the screen?
I am looking to see if I have it, and then I will gladly take
Yeah.
care.
Leave it to Senator French.
Okay, I'm going to attempt to share my screen. I have not done this before. Okay, my computer doesn't like this. Can you all see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Nice.
So the biggest change on this is paragraph, I think it's 6. Liquor manufacturer that produces less than 5,000 bottles during their licensing year and that operates and produces liquor solely within the state may transport its products to a farmer's market and may offer samples as provided in this paragraph. And such products may be sold at retail at the farmer's market in the original sealed containers.
Perfect. Thank you. Good job, Cam.
Nice.
Very good. You learn new things every day.
Any other questions for the senator? Seeing none, thank you very much, Senator.
Okay, Senator French. The next person I have on my list is Chairman Malika. Aiden Moore is also signed up. Do you want me to call them together or would you prefer them separately?
We'll take them separate.
Okay, let me go to Chairman Malika then. There we go. All right, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Well, that was quick. Thank you very much.
Are you having, Chairman Malika, are
Yeah.
you able to unmute yourself?
I'm here.
Okay.
Good, go ahead,
Okay.
Cameron.
Thank you. Thanks, Cameron. Mr. Senator, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Joe Malika from the Liquor Commission, once again, just testifying in support of SB 18 with the changes that have been made. This will truly help those small incubator distilleries in the state that are trying to get underway and start a small business. And as always, we support that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? Senator Susie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Malika, I just have a question regarding the number of samples. I note that in the amendment, we're talking about smaller distilleries and then the number is based on per label. So my concern goes back to something that I think we had addressed in a previous hearing. If it's a large farmer's market, there is a per label amount of beer that someone can consume. There's also wine that someone can consume. And now we're adding spirits to that. Is there any limitation upon how many labels can be tasted at one time at one facility?
Not under the label requirement, Senator, but there is a requirement under the licensees, under the jurisdiction of the licensee that they cannot serve someone that is visibly intoxicated. So we feel that being that we have licensees that are trying to build a business and keep their business in good stead, that they would not step around that regardless of the amount of alcohol that's presumably available to be sampled.
So if I could just ask a follow-up question to that. So to the extent someone has already sampled a significant amount of beer and wine and would appear intoxicated, then somebody could refuse to allow them to sample spirits as well.
Absolutely, Senator. We would expect them to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Bradley?
Yeah, thank you. Just following up on Senator Susi's question. So the licensee is the entity that's providing either the beer, wine, cider, or now spirits. Is that correct? And it would be on their responsibility not to serve somebody that was visibly showing
Toxic.
signs. Yeah.
Absolutely, Senator. Just as if a consumer was going from establishment to establishment in an evening, this would be a consumer going from a vendor space to vendor space. And we would certainly assume and want the licensee to take on the responsibility of serving, regardless of whether it was in their location, in this place, whether it was back at the distillery, or whether it's in this satellite opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Anyone else? Thank you. Cameron?
Okay. The next person on my list is Aiden Moore. Aiden, you should be able to unmute now.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, committee members. Again, Aiden Moore, a legal coordinator for the Liquor Commission. I would also like to just make sure that you're aware that in Senate Bill 18, while much of the attention is drawn to paragraph of Roman 4, there is contained within Roman 2A an already existing provision that requires the wine manufacturer, beer manufacturer, or liquor manufacturer to go to the local community to obtain a permission to operate at this farmer's market. So there's also a degree of local control. A local farmer's market could certainly put on limitations, as Senator Susi mentioned, about how many labels they may wish to allow to be tasted. And again, that's a local issue that each of these markets could decide on their own. Also, the provision allows the any of these manufacturers to either give away or sell. And I'm going to suggest probably that many of these manufacturers are trying to establish reputations and to get product encouragement in their communities, and probably don't have the resources to give away a lot of alcohol. They're probably going to sell it and could potentially put it at a price level which would make farmer market hopping a little less attractive. And certainly that is something that the farmers market organization and the community could also set some limits on that as well. So there are some provisions that are in place to keep this from turning into just wandering from booth to booth and walking out of there hammered, because no one, when you're there to get your vegetables and bread, you don't want to expect to get stopped for DWI on your way home. So, but I'm also available to answer any questions that the committee might have with respect to this bill or any of the other farmers markets provisions.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony today. Cameron?
Okay, the next person I have is Kate Frey. Kate, you should be able to unmute yourself now.
Great. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I wish I was seeing you all in person. My name is Kate Fry from New Futures. I would like to thank all of the senators and staff for making these hearings possible. We are here today I'm here today to speak mainly in opposition to SB 118 regarding the bill. brought up these same concerns when the bill came around to your committee last year. As you know, New Futures is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that works on the health and wellness of all New Hampshire residents. We work extensively on alcohol and other drug problems. And so, like a lot of bills in front of your committee and that we heard today, sometimes the focus is to expand opportunities to make alcohol more excessive or make it more accessible and availability, but there's always a downside to that. As we know, excessive alcohol use is a major driver of mortality in the US. And a new study from JAMA actually shows that people are drinking more amidst this pandemic. So not only did we have excessive costs related to overconsumption, there is now an increase to that increase that we were concerned about. My main concern was exactly what Senator Susie brought up, I think last year and again this year. If you look at the bill, it does samples shall be limited to 1 4-ounce per label per person for any beer, specialty beer or cider, and 1 2-ounce sample per label per person for any wine, and a 1/2 ounce sample per label per person for any liquor. And so bringing it back to best practices, we have to remember that in the US dietary guidelines that were established exactly to reduce the risk of alcohol-related harms, they do define drinks, 2 drinks. What they say is if someone chooses to drink, they should drink in moderation, limiting to 2 drinks or less a day for men, or 1 drink or less a day for women on when alcohol is consumed. I did submit written testimony that has a graphic of really what is considered a drink. And that's, 12 ounces of 5% ABV beer, 8 ounces of 7% malt liquor, 5 ounces of 12% wine, and 1.5 ounces of 40% distilled spirits of liquor. So, depending on how many beer, wine, and liquor manufacturers are at a farmer's market and how many labels each vendor is offering, you're actually offering, anywhere from 1 drink to several. And so I think that's beyond what is perceived to many as a sample. I do feel more comfortable with what Chairman Malika and Mr. Moore had said. I would hope, though, that maybe there's something in the bill that whoever is serving at the farmer's market is someone who is trained in over serving alcohol, which I know is the case for most licensees. I just think the person who's actually at the farmer's market should be that person should be trained as well. And so again, my concern, I understand the equity issue with this vendor compared to others, but I think, we do have to be concerned about what we consider samples are really moving the margin more to drinks. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much, Kate. Cameron?
Okay. The next person I have is Jim Demers. Jim, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Cameron. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is James Demers, and I'm testifying today on behalf of the New Hampshire Wine and Spirits Brokers Association. I just want to say that I think this amendment that has been presented really addresses the concerns that the wine and spirits brokers had. And that by having language that adds the word solely, it ensures that large out-of-state manufacturers or large multi-state manufacturers won't be able to come into New Hampshire and market their product at a farmer's market, which would be, I think, really impede the retail process that we have through our liquor stores. Knowing that this bill is intended to help the small in-state manufacturers, I think this is a good amendment that addresses the concern that we had. It gives the balance that we've seen in other areas so that we would be supportive of the amended version.
Great, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Cameron?
Okay, the next person on my list is Andy Day. Andy, you should be able to unmute yourself, and there you go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here today, Senators. Senator Birdsell for putting this together and lending an ear, and Chairman Malika for being here and also being in support of this bill. I am Andy Day. My partner Alana and I own Dwari Distilling, which is located in downtown Derry. We're a tiny little space and not putting out a lot of spirit. So you can imagine in a state like New Hampshire, it's tough to get people's attention. And having one of the largest and most successful farmers market just across the street from us, this is something that I felt was going to help not just myself, but other small distilleries that are looking to sort of make a name for themselves. So I'm very much in favor of this bill. I know that there's a lot of other folks that are from the distilleries in New Hampshire that are interested in speaking, so I'll try and be brief. One thing that struck me was, excuse me, Senator Susie, your concerns are extremely valid. So just a few things about kind of what we do as a collective of alcohol producers. We are all business people, and we understand the liabilities of serving alcohol. We try very hard, not just as individual businesses, but we work together to make sure that we're providing a safe atmosphere, because in a situation like a farmer's market or a beer festival, if one person is drunk, then it's conceivable that everyone there is responsible for that if they've hit every single booth. So it's not uncommon for a brewery or a winery to work together to just kind of keep an idea of, you know, what people are going around, what people have had, and just work together in unison to make sure that people aren't being overserved. I've experienced this myself walking through the farmers market, getting an idea of, you know, how they sort of manage that situation. And further to that, you have a network within the community. For example, we have 4 breweries in town, and we have a couple of wineries, and we're all in constant contact with one another, even throughout the day when we're all open. If we see someone who's traveling around and they're getting a little bit reckless, we'll sort of send out and, you know, all points to other establishments and say, hey, you know what, there's a group of 10 that are coming around in a party bus and they've already hit here and they said that they were going here, just a heads up, so that we can, you know, prepare for that and do whatever we need to do to make sure that everyone is safe and secure. That's, like I said, this is all, it potentially falls on all of us. So we take this piece very seriously. And with that said, one other piece is I spoke with a town councilor in the town of Derry, and he actually is one of the coordinators of the farmers market. And I said, Mr. Weatherby, is this something that would actually benefit the market? Because we do have local breweries and wineries there. We'd love to be there. And we know a couple of other local distilleries that would love to be here and kind of swap in and out. And he said, absolutely. Variety is key. And that would definitely help out the farmers market. So it sort of drives our business. It drives more revenue for the state. And again, everyone is working together. Excuse me. And then finally, one last sort of piece that I've seen everyone, including myself, at different tasting events put into place as sort of a checkpoint is when someone comes up, they often say, well, what do you have that's good? And I'll ask you, well, what is it that you'd like to drink? Because I may have 4 SKUs of beer in front of me, but I don't want to put all of those in front of a guest. I would actually rather have them taste 1 or possibly 2 and narrow down their choices instead of running them through the entire gamut, because that is where you get into trouble. These are things that aren't just things that we do, but these are things that are kind of common practices amongst brewers, wineries, and distillers. Again, I can't stress enough that this is a business. It's a fun business to be in, but at the end of the day, we want to make sure people are safe and enjoying themselves. Again, thank you all for being here today. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Senator Bradley.
Yeah, thank you very much. Where did the ½ amount come from?
I believe that might be a better situation, better answered by Chairman Malika, but I believe this has been in the books, so-called, for some time.
well, we haven't allowed it for spirits in the past. So I guess my further question, Mr. Chair, is, for your purposes, is a half ounce the amount that is sufficient for a tasting, or is some smaller amount potentially okay?
Is this question for me?
Yes.
Yes. So one practice that we had, we actually have a tasting room now that we charge for our samples. Before that, we would have up to possibly 12 SKUs, and we wouldn't allow people to taste through all 12. And even further, we weren't pouring full tastes. We were actually doing splashes, because booze is fairly potent and you don't need a ton of it in order to get that flavor from it. It's certainly nice to have a half ounce because you get the entire experience. But this is another one of those things where it's sort of self-regulated. And as far as the half ounce, when I said that this is something that's been in the books, as far as I understand, since there's been law written for distillery tasting rooms, the half ounce sample was what was agreed to. So this isn't the farmer's market specifically.
Right.
This is
Okay.
something that's already existed.
All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Thank you very much for coming and testifying today.
Thank you.
Cameron?
Okay, the next person on my list is Gregory Me. Gregory, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Cameron. Good afternoon, Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Greg Me. I'm a owner of Cold Garden Spirits in Canterbury, New Hampshire.
Hey!
Hi. I would like to speak in support of the bill. Currently, New Hampshire distillers are permitted to sell in New Hampshire only at their tasting rooms or through the Liquor Commission. Most New Hampshire distillers are in rural areas or in industrial parks. These are not areas with high foot traffic. This makes tasting room sales very challenging. Selling through the state stores is a great opportunity for New Hampshire distillers. Chairman Malika and Mr. Mark Roy of the Liquor Commission are very supportive of marketing New Hampshire-made spirits. But this only works for the commission and for the distillers on high volume products. It is not appropriate to ask the commission to dedicate shelf space, warehouse space, and inventory to specialty products with limited sales or limited production. Permitting tastings and sales at farmers markets will give distillers more sales for specialty and limited production products, and will help us develop spirits with the following appropriate for the state stores. This will also take pressure off the commission to market low volume products. More sales make more revenue overall, and because New Hampshire made spirits sell at a premium, there is more revenue per unit sold. New Hampshire distillers support New Hampshire agriculture. I grew up on a dairy farm in the 1950s here in Canterbury. It was a great way to grow up. It taught preservation and how to fix everything with baling wire. Our farm went out of business when I was 10. One of my goals for starting a distillery was to help preserve local agriculture. We purchased tens of thousands of dollars worth of fruit and grain from orchards and farms in Canterbury, Loudon, Pennacook, and Lee. I have had very enthusiastic response from the two farmers markets in our area for tastings and sales. More sales for local distillers will make a larger market for farmers and orchards. New Hampshire distillers support New Hampshire tourism. Spirits tourism is an expanding market. More than 35% of our tasting room visitors are from out of state, and most of those out of state visitors come with a 2 or 3 day itinerary that includes lodging, dining, and visiting more than one distillery. In our area, the itinerary also often includes the Fox Smokehouse, Canterbury Ale Works, Gilmanton Winery, Canterbury Shaker Village, and Brookford Farm. Because most tasting rooms have limited hours, mostly on weekends, tasting and sales at farmers markets will mean more spirits tourism can expand into the week. Weekday business is especially welcome by the tourist industry. I encourage you to support Senate Bill 18. I have one thing to say about the size of servings. we pour no more than a 1/4 ounce in a single serving. This allows us to, if somebody says, you know, I like this one and I like that one, could I give another taste of this one? Then I can give them another splash of the one that they're interested in. And we found that that helps our sales without the risk of over-serving.
Great, thank you very much. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony. Cameron?
Okay, the next person I have is Kevin Amaker. Kevin, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So this is Kevin Blake Amaker from Copper Cannon Distillery. Yeah, I'm in support of this bill. I think it would be a great diversification for our revenue. We do struggle with getting people into our tasting room. So this gives us a mobile option to be able to both increase our brand and awareness and also just push New Hampshire product. This revenue increase would help us to hire more people within the West Chesterfield area. That's where we focused. I think it's a great idea. The only thing that I would ask as a slight amendment to the bill is go from 5,000 bottles to 5,000 cases, which aligns with what we have a cap on for our tasting rooms, because I think that would align better with New Hampshire, the New Hampshire distilleries, but I'm just speaking for Copper Cannon Distillery. I think it's also a great thing that you guys are limiting it to New Hampshire distilleries only, just because, you know, my mind went to, I'm right near Brattleboro, Vermont, and I actually called the Vermont Commission to see if I could be in one of their farmers markets, because they allow spirits to be sold at farmers markets, and they said no, it was only Vermont distilleries. So I appreciate you guys adding that to it. I think it would be good for us, but also, as the commentary was earlier, there is a responsibility associated with it that Copper Cannon takes really seriously, and all of our employees are trained on serving both formally and internally. So that is a concern for us. But I'd like to, you know, echo Andy Day's comments, and the fact that in these farmers markets or in these settings, you know, you do get a sense of working with other breweries and wineries to understand who's been overserved and taking that very seriously. So I appreciate your time, and just want to try and stay New Hampshire strong.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. Cameron?
Okay, the last person I have signed up to speak is Kevin Kurland. Kevin, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. I'm Kevin Kurland, Smoky Quartz Distillery in Seabrook, New Hampshire, and I'm coming out in support of this bill. And to tag along with what everyone else is talking about, yeah, all of us in this business, when we have tasting rooms, by state law, we have to do I'm not sure it's a law or regulation. We all attend the MTS, New Hampshire Liquor Commission Management Training Seminar, which trains us how to serve alcohol, along with, that's the same thing restaurants have to do, et cetera. A half-ounce sample, virtually no one actually gives a half-ounce sample. It's usually just a splash, especially when you have multiple products. The farmers markets, I participated in tastings before. What you can do a tasting in New Hampshire at a farmers market if they have a permit, but it's tastings only, not sales. That's the big addition on this bill. The one I participated in Somersworth, New Hampshire, they corralled all the breweries and distilleries in one location, and you had one checkpoint where you carded the people coming into that area. So it was very controlled, very manageable. And perhaps that's something, if a farmer's market want to do it, that might be the model to do it at. And that way you have a central control point where if someone was overserved or potentially being overserved, you could instantly check it, just like a bar or any other kind of a environment like that. So that's, I think that will address something like that. The second thing I want to address, Senator Susie, It was my understanding, just to talk what Blake was saying before, 5,000 bottles, I believe it was 5,000 cases was the way it was explained to me. So I'm not sure if that's a typo or the NHLC might be able to expand on that. If the limit is 5,000 bottles, that knocks most of us in this business out of the park because most of us break even at around 400 cases, which is about 5,000 bottles. So a 5,000 bottle limit, in my opinion, is far too low. And I wouldn't, if that was the limit set, I actually wouldn't be able to participate in any farmers markets. I'm over that limit with my distillery. So I think that's something that needs to be looked at. And I think that maybe it was miscommunication, or maybe that's what they actually said for how they wanted it. But 5,000 cases is much more reasonable, and that it ties in directly with our liquor sales from our front store. The state limits us to 5,000 cases through the front store. And the last part is from a revenue standpoint. The state's the better our sales at our front store, the more the state takes in tax revenue from us, because we do have to pay the 8% sales tax on our alcohol. Everything we sell through our front store and at the farmers markets will be covered under that. And that pretty much wraps it up. Thank you very much. I appreciate everyone working on this bill, and I look forward to passing, I hope.
Thank you. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, thank you very much. We have Mr. Moliker, maybe could come in and explain.
Chairman Malika, I already brought you in. You had your hand raised. You should, there you go.
Thank you, Cameron. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the reason 5,000 cases is 60,000 bottles in 750 milliliter 12 case bottles. So that's a little excessive and probably beyond what I would consider an incubator business or a startup. And the goal here is to help businesses that are starting up and incubator businesses. So if that was to be raised to that level, the Liquor Commission would probably need to change their support of the bill, because it would be beyond what we feel would be reasonable for a startup business. And at that point, those businesses would be in the majority of the state liquor stores and probably doing business out of state at that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Gannon?
Am I unmuted? There we go.
You are.
Commissioner, just a question for you. Is there any legal problems limiting out-of-state manufacturers? No Commerce Clause problems?
Well, Senator, it's certainly something that we've thought about, but given the spirit of the bill and supporting small businesses within the state, we were willing to move forward with it and take those challenges one at a time as they may occur.
Thank you.
My pleasure, Senator. Thank you.
Senator Bradley has a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, is there some amount between 5,000 bottles and 60,000 bottles that you could support?
Senator, I think we could, if we were going to leave the 5,000 bottle mark, we would be comfortable with either 7,500 or 10,000 bottles. That the 466 cases, doing the math in my head with the 5,000 bottles, we thought would be enough to help a startup. But if the committee is in favor of increasing that, then we would certainly go along with raising that to either 7,500 or 10,000 bottles.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Cameron.
Kevin Kurland has raised his hand to speak for a second time.
Put him on.
All right, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Just to follow up on the chairman, I think 10,000, from my perspective, 10,000 bottles would be a perfectly acceptable limit.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none?
Okay, Greg Mia has raised his hand to speak for a second time.
Go ahead, East Canterbury.
Thank you, Senator. I agree that 10,000 would be a good limit for us.
Great, thank you. I was concerned about you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
There are no hands raised. If you're on the phone and you want to raise your hand, dial *9. I'm not seeing, Aiden Moore has raised his hand.
Go ahead.
Very briefly, Senator Bradley asked a question earlier about the figure of 1/2 ounce. And I just wanted to get back to him that measurement, that standard is taken from what exists under 178:6 and what liquor manufacturers are allowed to sample at their facility.
Okay, thank you.
So we had several people sign in support that did not want to testify. Of course, Senator Kavanaugh, anything that involves excess liquor came in as his support. Thank you very much. Senator Carson, same. Holly Bean, representing herself, same. Andrew Hathcock was in support. David Grassi, representing himself, is support. Alyssa Lawrence, representing herself, was in support. And Neil Weatherby also chimed in support of this legislation.
Senator, before you close the hearing, Kevin Amaker has raised his hand to speak for a second time.
Sure.
All I was going to say is that Copper Can supports the 10,000 bottle limit. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Then I'll close this hearing on Senate Bill 18. Senator Bradley.
I move, Mr. Chairman, we go into executive session.
Second.
Thank you. Bradley first makes a motion. Senator Susie seconds it to go to executive session. We'll take a roll call vote. Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon, Mouth, yes.
Yes,
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
and Senator French. Yes. Let's take up Senate Bill 14. An act relative to direct shipping of liquor. Do I have a motion?
I'll move on to pass.
Second.
Motion of ought to pass by Senator Bradley, seconded by Senator Susie. Any discussion? Have a roll call. Ought to pass on Senate Bill 14, Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator
move
French says yes.
I move consent.
Second.
Consent by Bradley, seconded by Susie. Senator Bradley for consent,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator French says yes, 5-0 for consent. Thank you very much.
Senator, who would you like to have the bill? Who would you want to take it out?
We'll have, who wants to?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you, Senator Susie. We'll take it out. I don't think Senate Bill 17 is ready. I haven't seen the language. Do you agree?
So we're not having a session till February 4th, so you could hold on it. We could also exec it, knowing that there'd be a floor amendment on the floor. It's probably better if we saw an amendment. Wouldn't you agree, Senator Susie?
I would agree.
Senators, Jenny Horgan, who is Senator Sherman's aide, has her hand raised. She may have some information on the amendment.
Then let her speak.
Jenny?
Thank you, Senators. I did send the amendment a few minutes ago. It's Amendment 0011S. So you should all have that in your inboxes. And if not, please let me know, because then we're having tech problems over here too.
Cameron, can you pull that up on the screen?
Sure, let me. Okay. There we go.
Cameron, can you pull that up so everyone can see it, not just you?
Yep, I'm working on it. All right, can you all see that now?
Yes.
Way to go, Cam.
Nice job.
Let me know when you want me to scroll down further.
Go ahead. Anyone?
Go
Ready to
ahead.
go.
Little. Okay. Everyone have time? Thank you. If you could take it away, Cameron. Any discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Chairman, I think we need a motion on the underlying bill before we can move to the amendment.
So I'll move on to pass.
Second.
To pass by Senator Bradley, seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. On the motion to pass on the underlying bill. Senator Bradley.
So in terms of Senator Sherman's amendment, it's, I mean, it rewrites that provision of the nano brew. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I would, before we voted on it on the floor, my suggestion would be that we get something in writing from Chairman Malika or Mr. Moore, just outlining that, you know, they support it hopefully, then I'd feel fine.
Okay. Anyone want to make a motion on the amendment?
I would move the amendment ought to pass.
And I'll second that with the understanding that you, Mr. Chairman, will ask the commission for that. brief statement from them.
Will do. So we have a motion of ought to pass on the amendment by Senator Susie, seconded by Senator Bradley. We'll vote on that. Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes,
Senator Susie,
Yes,
Senator French says yes. Do I have a motion on the entire bill as amended?
I'll move on to pass as amended.
I'll second.
Senator Bradley moves on to pass as amended, seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. Any discussion? Senator Bradley? Oh,
no, Senator Bradley had his hand up first.
Oh, no. Do I have my hand up? Hope
I
not.
thought you did.
Senator Susie.
I just wanted to be clear beforehand. I do support the amendment, and I think conceptually the amendment is really a good thing for the industry. I do not support the underlying bill. I haven't supported such attempts before. I have concerns about people that bring service animals and the ability to be able to segregate service animals. And I also do have some hygiene concerns. I know there were representations made that there would be a way to deal with either animal waste, but fur and dander and other things I think are a concern within even an outdoor facility. So for that reason, I'll have to vote no on the bill as amended.
Thank you. Senator Bradley.
Yeah, thank you very much. One of my son's long-term girlfriends, I guess for lack of a better word, works in a brew pub in Colorado. And I've been there and seen dogs there. I think while I don't dismiss Senator Susie's concerns, I think it's manageable. And the way the bill is written, a municipality is going to have the final say on it and can adopt any ordinance, regulating those types of things. And, having seen it myself, I'm comfortable with it.
Thank you. Anyone else? We will take the vote. Senator Bradley? On
Yes.
to pass.
Yes.
Senator Gannon?
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh?
Yes,
Senator Susie?
No,
Senator French votes yes. Vote 4-1. So now we'll take up Senate Bill.
Senator French, who are you going to designate to take out that bill?
Oh, thank you. Senator Bradley can. He's doing a great job.
Just make sure I get that letter.
Yeah, sure. Have Josh call for it, would you? Senate Bill 18. You want to take that up?
I'll move on to pass.
I will second.
We have a motion of ought to pass on Senate Bill 18 by Senator Bradley and a second by Senator Susie. Any discussion? Senator Bradley.
So Senator Bertzel introduced an amendment at the behest of the State Liquor Commission. I don't think it needs to be put on the screen, but I would suggest in Senator Bertzel's amendment, we raise the number of bottles to 10,000, which was the number cited by Chairman Malika.
Thank you.
And that can be a committee amendment.
Cameron, do you have that?
I have that, Senator.
You have that. Thank you. So we have an amendment before us with to change the amendment to read 10,000 bottles. Do I have a second on that?
second.
Second from Senator Kavanaugh. Any discussion? Let's take a vote. Senator Bradley?
Yes.
Senator Gannon?
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh?
Yes,
Senator Susie?
Yes,
Senator French also says yes. 5-0, change that amendment. Now we'll have take up the entire bill as amended.
I'll move on to pass as amended.
I'll second.
We have a motion to pass as amended by Senator Bradley, seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. Any discussion? Then we'll have the vote. Senator Bradley?
Yes.
Oh, wait, excuse me, Senator Susie.
That's okay. I'll be very brief. I had concerns about this legislation going in, but I just wanted to say that I appreciate the concerns of those providers, those distillers who raised issues about the practice they have of working collaboratively, and also Chairman Malika's assurances that the licensees would be responsible for over-serving. So I'm comfortable voting for the legislation, having heard all of those assurances.
Great, thank you. Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator French says yes.
I will also move consent.
Second.
Senator Bradley moves consent, seconded by Senator Susie. Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
and Senator French says yes. 5-0. It's on consent.
Senator, who do you want to take that bill out?
I'll take that out.
Okay.
Any other things to go over today? Senator Bradley.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, you did a fantastic job. You were the beta test for running a hearing, and I think this is your first time being a chair. So I just want to give you a shout out. You did a great job. I also want to give Aaron and Cam a shout out. Our staff continues to just do excellent work. Sonia and Josh were on the call along with Kathy, just making sure before we all got on that everything went smoothly.
It was seamless.
Unexpected. It's all because of you, Harold.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Leadership.
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
leadership.
Told you made a big mistake making me chair. Then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So
So
moved.
moved.
All in favor?
All
I
right.
think we're supposed to roll call that too.
Okay, Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
You talked them up too quick. Yes.
Senator Susie.
Yes.
Did I mess you up, Senator Gannon?
A little bit, but I can handle it.
Senator Gannon?
Yes.
And
Yes.
Senator French says yes. See you soon.
I believe that was just a vote to come out of executive session. I
It
believe
was.
We also need another vote to adjourn.
Thank you for keeping us straight, Cameron.
Move we
Senator
adjourn.
Bradley motions to adjourn,
Motion
Sec-
to adjourn.
seconded by Senator Kavanaugh. Senator Bradley,
Yes.
Senator Susie,
Yes.
Senator Gannon,
Yes.
Senator Kavanaugh,
Yes.
and Senator French once again says goodbye. Yes.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you all.